Guilds of Ravnica week with Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice versus Atraxa, Praetors' Voice. Going to be having our two commanders trade a lot in the air, it looks like. We will keep this because we have some card draw and some lands. And if our opponent rushes into lots of mana rocks, we can hopefully deal with those by force. But apart from that, it doesn't look like we have a particularly fast start ourselves. And Atraxa deciding whether or not to mulligan down to 3 cards. Okay, they've kept 4 cards, so hopefully it won't be. We have a pretty slow start ourselves, so they might get a really fast start out. We'll just have to see what happens. We can get down a plateau with this, and then go into Faithless Looting. Probably ditch a couple of land cards. And then pass the turn over to our opponent and see what they have. Okay, yeah, we'll ditch a couple of planes because we have lots of those in the deck. Ruination might be very good against an Atraxa deck because it's 4 colours and we'll most likely see a lot of non-basics with that. Ruination destroys all non-basic lands. Alright, that's a pretty good top deck there. We can go into the Stoneforge Mystic and see if we can get something there. I think we just go for Lightning Greaves, to be honest. Let's see what we've got. We do have the Sword of Feast and Famine, the Champion's Helm, Lightning Greaves, Skull Clamp and Swiftfoot. I think we just go for Lightning Greaves. And then we can pass over. And yeah, I think next turn we go to play the... No, I think we actually play the Lightning Greaves ready for next turn on our commander and hold up the Path to Exile. We may well see an Atraxa next turn. Unfortunately, the Path to Exile will pay for half of the commander tax, but it does get the commander off the battlefield, and it does help with regards to our opponent losing tempo. I don't think I've gone over Atraxa yet. For those of you who don't know, 4/4 for 4 mana, Flying Vigilance, Death Touch and Lifelink, and you proliferate at the end of your end step. So this could be one of 3 decks usually. It's either creature buffs, Super Friends, Planeswalker Super Friends, or Infect, and we have no inclination as to what the commander is doing yet. See if our opponent actually has any basics in hand or in the library. And I think at some point we can just win this game with Ruination, to be honest. It's not a tactic that I want to employ straight away, but against Atraxa, a powerful card like Atraxa, I don't feel too guilty about doing that, to be honest. And in this build of Aurelia, there's, speaking of land destruction, that is the only mass land destruction I have in the deck. What I've decided to go for, really... Oh, and Lightning Greaves doesn't allow us to target Aurelia herself, does it? Oh well. We'll just target the Stoneforge Mystic, give it Vigilance and +2 to its attack. Well, it's just the same amount of damage. We do lose out on some commander damage. But yeah, the tactic of this deck is to get some equipment out there, but it's also a little bit of a Hate Bears deck. That's actually more the other way around. It's mostly Hate Bears with a little bit of equipment, and I need to keep running the deck and see how that is. What I should really do is put lots of big expensive Hate Bears in there, go all in on that plan, and then run like mass land destruction and things like that. I just don't like running Armageddon and things like that. Punishing people for running lots of non-basics isn't as bad for me, but it's still... yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see how I feel about it. I just rushed these decks out, to be honest, because I had to build about 5 decks over the weekend. There'll be a different commander from Guilds of Ravnica coming out every week during Guilds of Ravnica week, and I might continue into the into next week. It depends how the videos do, or I can get specific commanders from Guilds of Ravnica into the normal rotation. We'll just have to see what people like and what they don't like. Spike Weaver, I just want to make sure I know what it does. Yeah, you can prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, so I'm not too worried about... Yeah, we'll just get out the Sunforger, and we can start tutoring out instants and maybe try and get rid of the Spike Weaver next turn. But for right now, we'll just get out the Aethersworn Canonist and try and stop our opponent getting too crazy with all the spells that they might be able to cast. They only have 2 cards in hand, so it's the same as us. And probably the correct play there was to get out the Ruination, but I want to give our opponent half a chance. It doesn't. It really goes. I'm really going against the grain with regards to the type of plays that I like to make in building a Hate Bears deck to begin with, and then also one that runs a card like Ruination. Not normally something that I like to do. The fact that you can win a game on turn 5 by blowing up all but one of your opponent's lands isn't really a play that I like to make, but I don't know. Against Atraxa, not sure how guilty I feel about that, to be honest. Maybe just let our opponent get out Atraxa and then play the Ruination, just to attempt to be sporting, and pass it over to our opponent. Yeah, I'm not a particularly spiky player. I don't play very weak decks particularly, I don't think, but I don't play super spiky competitive decks either. I'm a little bit in between. I don't like to blow out our opponent straight away because it doesn't make for an interesting game in my mind. Okay, our opponent going for, so this looks like it might be Super Friends. Going for a Tamiyo. And okay, so choosing 2 creatures there, so looks like we're going to be chump blocking with the Stoneforge Mystic, and when we hit our opponent with Aurelia next turn, we'll be giving them a card draw. Okay, they don't swing in with the Spike Weaver. Oh, because we can just chump block with Aurelia, of course. So we'll go for a land. We'll get... I don't think it matters what we equip to. We'll just go for it onto Aurelia. And then I think we can just swing in here. Get the buff on Aurelia. And then we can unequip the Sunforger during our opponent's turn and tutor up something with that. We'll just go straight for our opponent here. We can try and get commander damage next turn. I think that will put them at 14. Okay, we're... Oh yeah, we're seeing a Spike Weaver there. Yeah, of course, I completely forgot about that. The only creature on the board and I forget about it. That will switch off the Tamiyo trigger though. I think we just go for... Well, we'll see what our opponent does next turn. We might just unequip the Sunforger and go for something like... it can't be Path to Exile, what's the other one? Swords to Plowshares. Or we could go for something to get rid of Tamiyo. Actually, I'm not sure if we can. I don't know if we have an instant that gets rid of something like a Planeswalker in this deck. Okay, Effective Fiction. Well, we'll see what we can give to our opponent. Well, you can either get a Planeswalker and a land, or you can try and fix your draws with Lindell's Vault and a little bit of ramp. So that is entirely up to you, of course. We'll see what our opponent throws into the bin. I think that's a fairly easy Fact or Fiction. Yeah, they get the Limdul's Vault, which they can cast at the end of our turn. And Spike Weaver is giving our commander some trouble here. Tamiyo is going to choose 2 creatures, yep. So we'll give them a card draw next turn. I should have moved the Lightning Greaves over to Aurelia to give it Shroud and protect it. That was a mistake on my part. Okay, not seeing a swing in from Spike Weaver, which makes complete sense. So at the end of our opponent's turn, we'll go for unequipping the Sunforger, and this will allow us to look for an instant with converted mana cost 4 or less. I think we could actually deal a lot of damage to our opponent with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We could deal 12 damage to them with the Price of Progress. But I think what we'll do is go for Swords to Plowshares. And it's down there. We can cast it and target this Spike Weaver. And then we can try and swing through next turn, deal some damage, and then equip and unequip the Sunforger for a Price of Progress. And that should be us winning this game. And without blowing up all our opponent's lands, I hasten to add. Alright, so we go for Sunforger onto Aurelia. And then that will be 6 damage. I think I want to try and protect Aurelia during combat. So we will have to target someone else with Aurelia's ability. We'll put it onto the Stoneforge Mystic. And then swing through for 9. No, we'll swing through for 10, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. I think Price of Progress is 2 damage per non-basic land. Well, we'll soon find out anyway. Okay, and damage being dealt. Opponent taking a while to pass through. Yep, okay, and that gives our opponent a card draw there, but I think it's already over. Does Sunforger cast? Yes, you do cast it, so our opponent does have the chance to counter this if they want to. We just need to double check that Price of Progress. It deals damage to twice the number of... Yeah, so effectively 2 damage for each non-basic they control. And that will of course only deal 2 damage to us. And it will deal more than 10 damage to our opponent. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's 14 damage dealt to our opponent. But they do have the chance to counter it, and they do not. They don't take the damage either, which is very rude. That is my Aurelia Exemplar of Justice deck. I hope you enjoyed it. There's more Guilds of Ravnica commanders coming out, so look forward to those, and I'll see you all in the next one. My name's Tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.